In this episode, I'll show you the iPad apps that have stood the test of time.
AdoramaTV presents Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to this episode of Exploring Photography right here on AdoramaTV. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, I'm enjoying a cup of coffee and reviewing a few of my photos from my last shoot on Lightroom Mobile here on my iPad app, and it gave me an idea. You know, a few years ago, I used to do iPad app reviews about photography-related apps on AdoramaTV. I think I did about 80 or 85 iPad apps, and I stopped, honestly, because I was having a hard time finding iPad apps that were actually still useful because there were so many that were really good. Well, I thought, well, what do I still use from that batch of apps? And when I was looking on my iPad, there are quite a few apps, but 3 of them sort of rise to the top as apps that I use all the time. Now, the first one that I want to talk about is called the photographer's Ephemeris, and then I want to talk about Easy Release. I use that for model and property releases, and then for video shooting, I use something that's called Movie Slate 7 specifically, and I'm using these apps all the time, and I want to show you how great they actually are. So we'll begin by me closing out Lightroom Mobile and hopping over to the photographer's Ephemeris. Now, just a disclaimer, there is no way I can go into great detail what all of these apps do. So I'm hitting them at a very, very high level just to show you quickly why I love them so much. Let's start with the photographer's Ephemeris. This app allows you to see where the sun or moon will be at any time of day or night at any time in the year, past, present, or future. It's really awesome. So for example, let's say I want to take a photo out here outside the pyramid, outside of the Louvre in Paris, France. So I'll just center that on the map and then click that right on the screen. Right there, bam. That will drop a pin. And then what I can do is at the bottom of the screen I have a timeline, and I can see where the sunrise is, 7:04 a.m. And then I can scroll through with my finger here and see exactly where the sun will travel at any time of day. So at about 2 o'clock, it's due south. And as it heads toward sunset, I can see exactly where it's going to be. And I'll just keep zipping right through here. And once this hits orange, the circle hits orange, that's telling me golden hour has started. So I can see that just to the west is where the sun will be. And that'll be about 8 o'clock at night, and bam, that's where the sun goes down. So anywhere in the world, you can see where the sun will be at any time of day, any day of the year, past, present, or future. So you can choose the year, the day. So this is great for planning a trip if you're going to be shooting. The other thing this does is it has night mode. So if you're a night photographer, you can see exactly when the Milky Way is going to be out and where it will be in the sky. So the brighter globes here, the brighter orbs, are where the brightest part of the Milky Way is going to be. You can see where the moon will be traveling through the sky. And then you can also see where the constellations will be. Now there's a lot more to it than that, but again, I don't have the time to go in through all of the different things this can do for you, specifically looking at different elevations and doing visual searches, dropping multiple pins to see if you're shooting from a high to a low elevation or the opposite. You can look at different types of things, topography using Google Terrain, the hybrid here, you've got open cycle maps, all kinds of stuff built into this app. It's really awesome. And if you want to shoot sunsets and sunrises and you're in the lower 48 states of the United States, you can use an add-on called Skyfire, and that will use data that will forecast where the best places are in the lower 48 to shoot sunrises and sunsets up to 4 days in advance. And so that's an add-on that I think is pretty awesome. I'm not using it because I'm in Europe right now, but I use this app all the time. It really helps us to shoot video so we know exactly where we can be to find shade and open shade and those types of things. All right, let's move along. At those shoots, we need to manage model releases and property releases. And so I use something called Easy Release. Now it's called Easy Release because it's really, really easy. Now before I go into all the things this does, let me just say that you can customize this with branding for your PDF header, your photographer's name, where the email is going to be used. You can use Pro Packs to do some advanced customization and multi-page releases. You can use iCloud. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can customize the legal content to this. And so let me show you, once you've done all that, how easy it is to create a model release. Now, just so I can make sure that you don't get all these emails and phone numbers, I've deleted all of my info and created 3 fake releases here. So let's create another fake release. At the top right-hand corner, there's a little plus, and once you hit that, it'll say, do you want to create a model or property release? I want to create a model release. So it's going to walk me through those steps. So what's the shoot info? Well, this one I'm going to call fake shoot. So once I've set up fake shoot there, and I guess I should spell it right, it'll ask for a reference ID. Maybe you have an invoice number or a client name. You can add that there. It's going to ask me for a country. Now, to save time, let me just show you something. Anytime you've added a country or a model or an address or a witness or any of those types of things, Easy Release saves that. So instead of entering all this in, I can just click on locations, say I'm in Paris, France. Next, it's going to ask me for my model's name. I could enter all of this information in, and you have to do that the first time. But once you've done that, you just click on models, and I'll say, hey, let's shoot with Brenda. That all of her information's already in there now. What's the witness's name? I can type it in, or I can just say Matt is the witness. And I've just created a model release. And you'll see that it says ready to sign. So what we'll do here is we'll scroll down, and it'll ask for my signatures. So the first thing I'll do is click on model. The model will then read the model release. And again, you can customize this legal text here. So it can be whatever you want it to be. It comes with a default model release. Then you can tap sign, say done, then it'll ask for a witness signature. The witness will read what the agreement is here, sign, done, and then you're ready to create your PDF. I'll say tap here to create. Look at that, a beautiful model release. And then once you have that done, you can click up here to share it through email, or you can do that at a later time. So you can just tap here to send. I'm going to send that to both the model and myself, and then you'll see email opens. And there it all is right there in a beautiful email. So it's really, really easy to create model and property releases and then keep track of all those. And you can store these on your iCloud account. And so everything is there when you need it if you're switching between devices. It is really awesome. That's Easy Release. Now the last app, Movie Slate, is something I use all the time for keeping track of video takes when we're creating Adorama TV and other videos for clients. So if you have a bunch of takes and you're messing them up, you need to know which ones are good, which ones are bad, so when you get to your edit, it doesn't take forever. Now this is where Movie Slate really comes in handy. So you can slide things around and you can change different parts of this slate. And you can add customization, so information, let's say, about your camera, the file formats, the resolution, all this kind of stuff. And this is metadata that you'll use later. So let's say we're working on scene 5. So we'll say, there we go, scene 5, take 1. And then what we'll have to do is say what kind of shot this is. So maybe this is the opening of whatever we're doing. And you can customize all of these things. So we'll click on the clapper here. And that noise is nice and punchy for a reason. And you'll get all that information at 1 frame at a time, so I'll explain that in a second. But that noise will help you if you're doing a syncing audio and video or a multi-camera setup. And this time code is also synced to your frame rate. So if you're syncing multiple cameras, you can do that just by lining the numbers up. It's really nice. If something works well, you can go in and add a note and say, hey, this is good. This is good. Well done. Or Mark screwed up, he dropped the camera, or whatever. So the production assistant can add different notes there. You can do keywording, you can do all kinds of things. Maybe you need to shoot a still photo with the iPad for consistency of makeup on an actor or costuming or something like that. And if it's a good take, you can circle that take and then you can end the shot. Now it goes automatically goes to the next take, you can do that take, and on and on and on. Now the nice thing about this is you have a history. And also let me just mention that everything is auto incrementing here. So the take and the file name. So as you're doing this, you can keep your file names in sync, which is really nice. And the beauty of this is when you hit the history tab, you can go in and look at all of the different takes you've done for your project. And you can look and see what the different notes are, if it's a good take and it's circled or a bad take and not circled. If you have any photos or keywords associated with that, you can see that. So this will save you hours if you have a long production, just figuring out which files or which width takes, and if it's a B-roll or a main shot or a close-up. And so this is awesome. You can also export all of this metadata in multiple formats, and so a lot of them can just be pulled right into your favorite editing app and associated with the files themselves, or you can just put your iPad next to your computer while you're editing and look at all of these different things to see exactly what camera was used, who was in the shot, what kind of shot it was, if it was good, etc. It's a fantastic application, and it can save you hours of time. The other thing you have here are focus targets, and you've got exposure help and all kinds of things. So I could go and talk about a ton of different things that this application does, but once again, we just don't have the time to do it. But I highly recommend Movie Slate if you're making videos. Well, these are some of my favorite iPad apps: Movie Slate, the Photographers, Ephemeris, and Easy Release. And I have to mention, Adobe has just recently released a whole slew of apps for the iPad that can really change your workflow. Now, we don't have time to go into that in this episode, but Lightroom Mobile has certainly changed the game as far as collaboration and sharing photos and working on the go and all kinds of things. So look for that in a future episode of Exploring Photography. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to Adorama TV so you don't miss a single episode. And make sure you check out the Adorama Learning Center. There are tons of articles about photography and videography and post-production, retouching, and all that kind of stuff. And everything is absolutely free. So click subscribe and check out the Adorama Learning Center today. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you again next time.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.